Hi, I'm Dempsey Pilat, and this week I'm reviewing Midsommar was directed by Ari Aster and stars Florence Pugh, Jack Rayner, William Harper Jackson, Wilhelm Blomgren, and Will Poulter. And the film revolves around a group of friends that travels to Sweden for this elaborate summer celebration that only happens every 90 years. Except when they arrive, they find themselves at the clutches of a cult. And my god, what did I get myself into? Midsommar is not a bad film. It's actually quite good. However, in my opinion, I don't think it's as good as Hereditary. So for those of you guys who are wondering, there's your answer. And also, for those of you guys who didn't know, yes, Ari Aster also directed Hereditary, which came out last year, and fun fact, was actually one of my favorite films of last year. And I also want to apologize in advance because I know this is not the only instance in which I'm going to compare this film to Hereditary, but I mean, how could you not? This film has three really great qualities, some of which are very similar to Hereditary. There I go again. The first being the direction. Ari Aster is just a genius behind the camera. This film is so beautiful to look at from the beginning to the very end. Secondly, it's the music. The music is beautifully haunting. Again, it's something that I wouldn't listen to at the gym or anything like that, but it's so captivating. It really does add another layer to the experience of watching this film. And thirdly, the acting. I mean, all the acting is great in this film, but the real highlight here is Florence Pugh. And if you saw Hereditary and you liked Toni Collette's performance and you wanted to throw all the Oscars at her last year, wait until you see Florence Pugh in this one. It'll make you feel very similar. She is the film's central character, and over the course of the film, she actually experiences these crazy traumas. And honestly, I don't even know what I would do if I were in her shoes at some points in this film. But the thing that I love about her performance is that she is so resilient, that after these things happen to her, yes, she's defeated, but she doesn't let them define her. She doesn't let them destroy her. And instead, she's able to push on and persist, and it's just so incredible. The biggest theme that this film explores is grief. Very similar to Hereditary. However, unlike Hereditary, it isn't interested in wallowing in it. It's much more interested in coping with that grief, which I thought was a pretty neat message that Ari Aster packages into this big, weird horror film. And speaking of big, weird horror film, I didn't like it. I didn't like the big weirdness of it, rather. This film has so many interesting ideas. Ideas about relationships, ideas about desires, and, some of it comes through, but most of it kind of gets drowned out by the gore. This film is just oversaturated with gore and violence, and I know that kind of makes me sound like a wimp, but hear me out, okay? And I hate to use Hereditary as an example once again, but I will for the sake of argument, okay? In Hereditary, there's a lot of violence and gore too, but most of that is actually relevant to what's happening in the story. It helps move the story forward. Here, it feels like Ari Aster is just trying to get a reaction out of the audience. There are a lot of unsettling images and sequences that linger for way too long and just become a distraction to the overall plot. I personally felt like the film could have done without it. And also, I felt like the film wasn't fully intended to be a horror film. Watching it, I felt like it was almost intended to be a totally different movie at times. Let me explain, okay? I did a little research and I actually found out that it was originally pitched as a slasher film, but Ari Aster went through a breakup and then decided to kind of incorporate more dramatic elements, especially a relationship, and that's why so much of the story focuses on the relationship between Florence Pugh and Jack Rayner. But honestly, I think it would have been really interesting to see this film without many of the horror elements. I already mentioned before that I think it could have been a lot better without so much gore and violence, so it makes me think about the film that, almost wasn't, or the film that really wasn't. And the film floats between the two genres so frequently that the overall tone of the film gets muddled as a result. Overall, this film is still pretty good though. Between an array of horrific yet beautiful visuals, a lingering curiosity about what the hell is going to happen next, and a pretty solid cast. I know I mentioned Florence Pugh as a knockout, but everyone in this film really does a great job, especially Will Poulter and Chidi. and I know that's not his real name, but he will forever be known to me as Chidi because that's the way life is, okay? But in all seriousness, though, this film pushes the limits of the modern-day horror genre, while, strangely enough, treading new ground. Despite being hard to watch at times, it's also really hard to look away. This psychological roller coaster ride will keep you invested till the very last shot. Ari Aster is 2 for 2 if you ask me. And for that, I'm gonna give this film 4 stars.
Welcome and happy Midsummer. Skål!
Guys, thanks so much for watching. As always, if you like this video, hit that like button, and if you're not subscribed, I would ask you please subscribe. I post new videos weekly, and on the off chance that you missed it in my last video, I did mention that both this week and next week I'll be releasing a lot of new content, a lot of new stuff that I'm very excited to share, so make sure you stay tuned. Now, if you happen to see this movie and you liked it or you didn't like it, let me know in the comment section below. From what I've seen so far online, I'm talking about from like really prominent critics, this film has been pretty divisive, but I want to hear what you guys thought. Let me know, did it measure up to Hereditary? I know I already mentioned Hereditary a bunch of times already in this review, but it's really hard to watch this film and not compare it to his other work, his only other work, really. So yeah, let me know what you guys thought. Once again, thank you guys so much for watching. It really does mean the world to me that you take the time out of your day to view these videos, and I love making them for you. So, I mentioned I got a lot of new stuff coming out for you, and I should probably get back to work. So, until next time, I'm Dempsey Pilat. Take care.